I'm so excited to talk to you because you have this new single out now. I know your sound is sort of described as maybe electronic, meets hip hop, meets rap, meets jazz. How do you tend to describe the music that you make?
Yeah, I just describe it as a total detour from what is typically associated with these genres. It's all just collaborating together, combining, coalescing into a new seamless sound. So, in my opinion, it is genre fusion. It's sort of just this fusion of rap, hip hop, rock, electronics. You've got all these different instruments, and it's coming together to make a new, innovative sound. A next generation sound is the way I like to describe it. And it's just really what sounds electric to me. I'll just add it to the song and see how it sounds.
Who are some artists that influenced you when you were growing up?
Oh, when I was growing up, I listened to everything from Pavement to Radiohead, and I was even into some of the mainstream bands back then, like Red Hot Chili Peppers. Their album Californication changed my life. And I think just from there, that was my gateway into alternative music. And I just sort of branched out from there. I was always checking out Pitchfork Media, allmusic.com, and I would just roll up to my local record store because I was that kid, and I would just buy all the albums from the record store. I would skip class, or in the middle of school, I would be rolling up to the record store to buy the next new Broken Social Scene album or the Arcade Fire album. Yeah, just whatever was being pumped out as a new indie trend. I was that kid picking it up at the record store. It was called Cats Music. And unfortunately, all of the trendy indie CD stores are closed down now because it's all digital. But I have a giant collection, like a huge library of just albums. And yeah, it's just all the cases of the albums. It would be a cool collage if I could put it all together.
You have this new single out now, Nightclub. Where did the concept for it come from? Did you start with like a beat in your head and then sort of flesh it out from there?
Yeah, it all started as this demo that I made on GarageBand, ironically. And I was just really branching into these electronic sounds. I had discovered the synthetic bass, and I just messed around on the EQ until I created this really bouncy Daft Punk bass drive that just kickstarts the song. And then of course, I found the robot now Daft Punk vocals to start the track, and it didn't really conceptualize as a hip hop blend till later on when I was trying to figure out everybody wants vocals in my tracks now. What am I going to do about this? Because a lot of my music was less vocally driven. I sort of have this burial thing going on, the artist burial, where vocals were less apparent, were not really emphasized, where vocals were more of an atmospheric quality or an ambiance. But I began to incorporate vocals into my experimental track, Guitar Hero, and people resonated with that. They enjoyed the vocals and they wanted more. So I was just looking around on the internet and I found these two MCs just flowing like dynamite. I remember when I first heard them, I was stunned. I was like, how is this something I can just download onto my computer and put on this track? And it reminded me of Grind. It reminded me of Dizzy Rascal, Skepta, and some of those great artists that are doing amazing electronic beats in the UK. And that's always a sound that I wanted to pursue with my own music. So I threw it onto the demo on Logic Pro, and I was just blown away by the way it sounded. I was stunned, and I knew instantly that it was going to stay on the track because you just have that lightning bolt moment, that flash when something sounds so good, you know that it's going to be a natural fit for your music. And as soon as I heard those vocals, those lyrics just like flow into this electronic beat that I put together, I was like, man, this is fire. Like this one's going to take off. And it's done pretty well. I'm excited about Nightclub. I can't wait to play it live.
We'll get to that. But
All right.
I was gonna ask you, what kind of fan response have you already been receiving to the track?
I've been receiving quite a bit of fan response. It resonates with listeners and anybody who just hears my music personally, whether we're just driving around in the car or if I'm putting it on through my amps or if we're just listening to it on speakers through my iPhone. The music always clicks with people, and that's what really pushes me forward. Even if some of the metrics or the data doesn't seem to be adding up the way I would like, I'm always reminded that the people that hear my music in person always encourage me to keep going. And they say, this is really good. If it was bad, I would tell you it's bad. They're like, this doesn't suck, man. This is actually pretty good. So I'm like, okay, and that motivates me to keep going because, it can be difficult as an artist on Spotify having to keep up with those monthly listeners. I don't even check it anymore. I've totally checked out because the data interferes with my ability to make the music apparently. So I just tune out
Um,
the analytics and I make the music. But I have had a ton of success with the track on radio stations like Penguin Radio. It was in the top 3 or top 5 from the Netherlands, a really big, prominent indie community for music. And it also took off on Hits One Radio, which has a wide base stretching from Bayonne to Barcelona to Ibiza. And it was been my most successful track. It's picked up a lot of media outlets. I think it was top hits of 2024 from Spotify, added it to their playlist. So there has been a big, big wave of support for that particular song, and I'm excited about it. Except now I have to find vocals for all my music. So it's like every time you take a step forward, there's a new challenge. But I'm excited about the opportunity to add more vocals to my tracks. And Nightclub, yeah, it was Tinnitus from Canada. There was Apsy Magazine from the Philippines. And then down in Brazil, they were raving over it too. So the music is on an international scale for all of my tracks. And that's just very exciting to know that there are people from every part of the world that are listening.
you talked a bit about your new process these days for writing songs. Do you tend to have a specific path that you followed in the past where you had a little bit of an earworm and you would sort of voice note it and then get back to working on like adding 808s to it eventually and things like that. But is there a process when it comes to writing your tracks or creating your tracks, I should say, these days?
Surprisingly, there is a process, believe it or not. Even though everything seems to be taking a detour and it seems very just improvisational, there is a process and it all starts with the beat for me. I always start with coming together and forming this new, different sounding beat, something with just the drums, the beats, the percussions, making this like crazy rhythmic syncopation sound. And then after that, I'll go to the bass. I work with synthetic basses, electronic sounds like those big, heavy Daft Punk bass sounds. And I always distort everything. I never use an original sample. I'm always on that EQ, the equalizer, and I'm just making the sound different than what it originally was. So I'll usually distort the bass until it sounds just like an electronic storm or just some sort of pulsing, ambitious, pounding bass sound that is just lightning out of a bottle, like Zeus. Zeus, you can imagine throwing thunderbolts, sort of like that. So that's
My
usually the
goodness,
kind of sound I
Tanner.
like to go.
That's quite a comparison.
Yeah, yeah. That's right. Maybe I should change myself to like DJ Zeus or DJ.
Uh-huh.
Well, I can't even think of
One
his
of the
name right now.
gods of
DJ
the,
Trident.
yeah, something like
Yeah,
that.
DJ Bolt of Lightning. Yeah, DJ Poseidon. I'm really getting into this now. So yeah, it's just that heavy electronic bass sound or a groove maybe, or just something that's different with the bass. I want the bass to matter. I don't want it to be like this sound that's in the distance of the track that doesn't really matter to the entire song. Like a lot of times you'll listen to a song on the radio or, from a mainstream band or musician, and you're just like, where is that bass? I can't even hear I'm not sure how the bass is coming through here. But you'll notice that a lot of great hits like Dua Lipa's Don't Start Now has a strong bass groove. And also Into You by Ariana Grande like hits hard with that bass groove and it hooks. And all of a sudden you're like moving because of that bass sound. And it took me a while to understand and recognize that. But once I did locate the bass and I started experimenting with it, that's how this song started. The demo for Nightclub began out of just an experimentation with bass sounds and the drums and the percussions, the beats just kind of coming together in this electronic EDM new wave sound that's really putting a lot of amp into it. Just like Spinal Tap. We're turning it up to 11 here. That's
Yeah.
kind of what I was going for. Yeah. So that's really where it all starts for me is the bass and the beat. And then from there, I usually go for a synthesizer that's going to sound new wave or in some way just innovative. I'm just looking for some sort of electronic synthesizer sound that's different from anything else I've ever heard, but also reels you in. It hooks and reels and weaves together with that bass. So it's almost like not really a harmony, but sort of like I'm weaving together the bass with the melody of the synthesizer. And then that's when it all sort of crescendos when I lay down a guitar or
Mhm.
like an electronic guitar rhythm, sort of like in my track Ultraviolet. It's like, ooh, now I add the guitar and it really takes off. So it's just sort of like this build up that starts with a bass and a beat, and then it crescendos with the addition of these drum buildups and these electronic synthesizers like lasers. And then once you work in that guitar sound, then listeners are just all of a sudden stunned or shocked because they haven't quite heard this combination of sounds before.
Right.
You don't typically have an electric guitar and a Tiesto electronic track with an MC vocalist on stage. You don't really hear this fusion of genres, but that's something that I'm trying to integrate and sort of make a little bit more mainstream so that way this kind of music can be explored by other artists too.
It sounds like you have quite a hand then also in the production side of the music you make, or maybe all hand as the production of this music you make.
Yes, I am the music producer. I'm the DJ. I'm also the agent that is in contact with any professional regarding my music. I am, in addition, the manager. I'm also setting up the
The
lights as
publicist
the
as
instrument.
well.
Yeah, I'm the publicist too. Yeah, that's me on my socials. It's no one's been hired to write and promote my music for me. It's all me. So I am the definition of indie rock star. Even if you might not think of me as a rock star, I am independent. That's one thing. I'm definitely indie. That is the proper way to describe me because it's just one guy doing all these different things.
Well, what's next for you? Is there an EP or a full album in the works at all?
There is right now a double album that is in formation, and it's taken a little bit longer than I expected because when I first got into making the songs, it was just like bam, 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 Loft Party Lights, Ultraviolet, Let's Animate, Contra, Techno Town. Like it was five all in a row. But then once you start to weave in these vocals for tracks like Grand Columbia and Guitar Hero and Nightclub, it's a lot more painstaking to get the right blend of sounds because everything has to really gel in a way that wasn't as complicated before. Because now the songs are built around the vocals. So it's much more time consuming to build a song that has vocals than instrumental because you're factoring in that aspect of having the singer be the lead of the track now. and that's not really what I wanted in the first place. I wanted to have like these crazy instrumental sounds going off, but people wanted vocals, and so I added some vocals, and now I like the vocals, and so the process is taking a little bit longer. But I definitely have 30 demos officially. You can
Wow.
hear them on my Instagram. Yeah, they're on my Instagram, and those are just like the very, very basic embryonic stages of these songs. You can even hear the demos of Nightclub, Ultraviolet, Grand Columbia. They're all on my Instagram. But you might notice also how much more of a song they've become. Like the demos are just like bare bones and they have a cool groove to them. But the songs, I put in a lot of layers of sounds into these songs. It's almost like shoegaze, like My Bloody Valentine and their album Loveless, just the stacks of sounds all blending and merging together into this new harmony. That's sort of what I'm doing as a DJ music producer, just stacking all of these samples until they make that mix of sounds, like on Contra, where all of a sudden, you listen to it and you hear a lot going on, but there were literally like 200 or 300 layers of samples just to make that song, and it all adds up. It all just kind of seamlessly begins to blend together. And I'm making these little measurements on the EQ to make sure everything is all blending together to produce that sound quality. And so I'm looking forward to working on it some more. I've got, like I said, 30 total demos. I've got 8 tracks out there right now. So that means I've got, about, I'd say, probably like 15 to 20 more full songs for an album. And I'm really excited about it.
My goodness. Okay, well then I have to ask you, who are some artists you'd love to collaborate with on a song in the future?
Oh, to collaborate? Wow. Caught me off guard there. I would say probably, the most Sabrina Carpenter because of Espresso, or, maybe even Ariana Grande because she released Eternal Sunshine. No, I'm just kidding. I would probably collaborate in my real legit collaboration. Like if you gave me the opportunity right
We could do a
now, who do you want to collaborate
Saoki.
with?
We
I
could
would probably
do a Flume. There's so many. I mean, David Guetta. Who we're looking at?
I'd probably say yeah, maybe David Guetta, but I would also really like to bring Daft Punk out of retirement
I wish.
because they are so influential for me. It's not even their studio albums that really struck me the most. I mean, I love Random Access Memories, and I also love Homework, and of course Beyond. But that live album they produced was just like life changing for me. Like, every time I go out and exercise, I've got that live album on because of like the bass future sounds that are just like pounding in that arena or that concert wherever they were performing. So I think if I had to collaborate with anybody, it would be Daft Punk because I think I could also learn the most from them since they're electronic artists themselves. So sorry, Ariana Grande. Sorry, Sabrina Carpenter. I'm working with Daft Punk.
Who are some artists that you're really into at the moment? Ones you think people should maybe keep an eye on?
Oh man. So emerging artists right now. That's a good question. Who am I listening to right now? Let me see if I can find something on my phone here. Lately, oh man. Well, DJ Detour, of course. You should definitely check out DJ Detour. He's this like rising new electronic guy. He's like very independent. No, I'm just kidding. I would say one band that is underrated, and I don't always listen to electronic music. I actually listen more to indie rock and maybe even some alternative country or punk rock, and I even listen to some Metallica. I said it. I said it. I listen to Metallica sometimes, not all the time. I also listen to hardcore gangster rap like Ice Cube. So I listen to everything. But I think that one band in particular that's really catching my attention right now is the Future Birds
Okay.
because they have released like 5 high quality albums, and they're making these like really great pop rock alternative tracks that remind me of like Wilco in the heyday of Summer Teeth.
Oh,
So I definitely recommend Future Birds because not only can they harmonize as if it's like the actual birds, you know, the birds, Crosby, Still, and Nash and Young or whoever they were,
yeah.
they can harmonize like actual birds, like the birds you wake up to in the morning, just tweeting outside your window. And they also know how to make a very great, compelling song with a hook. And I look forward to reviewing their album Hampton's Lullaby on my website, wow, I can't even remember my website, musicmotivepromo.com. It's Music Motive Promotions. I'm promoting any artist out there who deserves a spotlight, who's not mainstream, who's underground, any artist that I feel like deserves more listeners, I'm going to put them on this site. And I'm starting with the Future Birds. And also another album that's catching my ear that's been released recently is this one by Hovdy. They're called Hovdy, Hovvdy.
Okay.
And yeah, it's their self-titled album. So all you have to do is look up Hovdy, these 6 letters, Hovvdy. Here's what it looks like.
Okay.
And this song, Gene, right here, yeah, Gene, this is one of the best songs I've heard in a long, long time. It
Yeah.
is the ultimate acoustic pop track. It is the song that will bring an entire family together through discord and divorce. That's how beautiful it is. So I definitely recommend listening to Hovdi in their self-titled album they released. I think it's one of the best albums of the year. So those are my 2 recommendations. I only have 2. You're probably expecting more. Hovdi and the Future Birds.
We have a little bit limited time, so we certainly know the list could go on and on, I'm sure.
Oh, for sure. I could come up with an entire I'll write a review for each one of them, but I don't want to put you all through that.
What would you
For
like
every single musician on my iPhone.
what would you like to say then to everyone who are fans and supporters of the incredible music that DJ Detour makes?
Thank you so much for that. Thank you for listening. It means a lot to me, everybody out there. I put a lot of work into my songs. I spend hours upon hours just mixing and remixing with my headphones on, with my headphones off. I even record the music on my phone and listening to it on my phone to
Wow.
see if it sounds right. And then I'll even listen back to it on the amps. And then from there, I'll decide what changes I need to make to the sound quality. So I'm grateful for all the listeners out there. And I just want you all to know that I will deliver more music. Like it's 110% guaranteed that the best is yet to come. Like this is nothing so far. I know everybody loves Ultraviolet, or at least I do, and Nightclub and, Grand Columbia. But, this is just the very beginning. This is just like the very, very, very early stages of my music career. And I'm looking forward to advancing and building upon what I have now. And my tracks are only going to get better from here. And I'm going to keep releasing them. And I can't wait to go live with all of these remixes that I've got going on right now on Instagram. That's my focus right now is my live show. So I'm going live at the end of this year and I can't wait to put on the show for the people, the unassuming masses. They will have no idea the sound that's going to be unleashed upon them. So I'm really excited about that. And I can't wait to release my next track. My next track, it doesn't have a title yet, but there is a singer. I've been in talks with a singer, and she's going to sing to the track. So that much is confirmed. And it's also got a very cool electro pop groove, and I think it might be a little bit more mainstream. I'm going for a Ghostland Observatory vibe.
Okay.
They have a song called Sad Sad City. I'm kind of going for that vibe, but as we know, I always take detours, and I myself don't even know what the final product will sound like.